Hello everyone, and welcome back to a different kind of video. So basically a couple months ago, I believe, I told everyone on Twitter and on Discord to use this new 256X sword shape that I had made, just like out of the blue. I didn't really like plan it out too much. I just kind of made it based on a challenge that Lolapoc hosted in the past. So I made this 256X sword shape and I told everyone, hey, try shading this, have fun, just see how it goes. Doesn't matter if you're good or bad, just submit something and we'll go from there. So it's been a few months and I got quite a few different submissions, so I'm just going to go through them today and give some of my opinions on them. So we're here on my amazing spelling. We're here on this channel that I made, and we're going to talk about each and every one of these. So first off, we got X-Turk, and here is their submission. Looks pretty cool, I'd say. It seems that the blade outline is thicker than the outlines on everything else. But overall, I'd say it's pretty cool. I like it. Good job. I'm not really good at giving these like reviews or whatever, but I'll try anyway. Next one's by P.O. And this one, I just really like the style of it. It's not incredibly realistic on the blade or whatever, but I mean, it doesn't have to be realistic, Like, I just like the style of it. It looks like it has spots all over it. I don't really know what style that is, but it just looks cool. It's different. It's unique. And that's what matters a lot of the time. So I really like this one. Good job. Next one up is by Durpin. This is a gradient shaded one. And this one's pretty good. I think it could use a little bit of work on like the saturation on like the blade and the pommel and this thing in the center of the crossguard in particular. But overall, I'd still say this is pretty good. I mean, I don't think he put too much time into it, if I recall correctly. Next one up is by CT. This one's pretty good. I really like the emblem in the middle. I think he or she said it was from a Zelda or something. So yeah, this seems to be like a mixture of gradient shading and brush shading. So as you can see, this like pommel right here has a nice indent. I think that might have like come from the tutorial that I made a while ago. Yeah, I'd really like this one. Pretty cool emblem once again. This one, this absolute beauty made by Mufa. I mean, I have no words for this. This is simply gorgeous. I mean, I think this one takes the cake. I'm sorry. Next one, we got my friend Monia with this amazing brush shaded plus gradient plus whatever combination of a bunch of different shading styles in this sword. I think it just looks super cool. I love the highlights, how they look like fire. I love like the way that you integrated gradients as well as like brush shading into this, as well as like the paintbrush at the bottom. I think that was a really nice touch. A lot of people told me that it looked like a paintbrush at the very bottom, but this is one of the few people that actually like turned it into something that looks like a paintbrush. So props for that. Overall, this is one of my favorites out of all of them so far. Next up, we got this one made by Rewin. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. This one's pretty cool. It also has like these stars and polka dots that we saw in the other one made by Pio. I also think this one's really nice. And yeah, there's not too much else I can say about it, except it just looks really cool. Great job. Next one made by Packs. This one's pretty cool. I see once again that the blade outline seems to be a bit thicker than the outlines everywhere else. Generally, you kind of want to stay away from that, but I mean, sometimes it works. Overall, though, pretty nice. I like the backlight. Very subtle, but adds a nice touch. Yeah, the shading is pretty cool. Not much else I can say about that. I really need to get better at like giving live feedback. But anyway, next up we got one made by Durgus3. I gotta zoom in for this one. Here is their submission. Also looks pretty cool. They also did the little paintbrush thing at the bottom. One thing I do have to say is that this thing seems to have like an incorrect light source, whereas everything else, the light source is like up here. For this one, the light source seems to be on the bottom. That's a pretty quick fix, but overall, I really like this one. Could potentially use a bit more shading, but overall, it's a great start. So good job on that. Next up, we got Jesty. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but anyway, we got this like red and maroon colored sword with gradient shading. I mean, shading's pretty standard, but overall, I think it's pretty nice. The bevels are a bit contrasty, but overall, pretty good, in my opinion. Next up, we got Jax That's All. Went for like kind of a... Actually, I don't even know what you would call this style, but I mean, it's pretty neat. You got all of these like lines and dithering or whatever it's called, and that goes throughout the entire sword. Especially on the pommel, you got the little paintbrush thing again with the lines. I think this was a cool style that they went for. So yeah, good job on that. Next up, we got I'm Low Tech. This one's pretty cool. I really like the style that you went for with the pommel and the whatever this piece is called. It looks really cool. I don't know if this grain is from the screenshot or just like you added it afterwards, but I mean, it makes it a little difficult to see the sword. But anyway, I mean, it looks really nice. I like the fade and everything. The gold looks pretty cool, the gold rings. And yeah, next up we got this one by Hoodie Packs. This one's pretty cool. I like the glow effect that you added. Yeah, I mean, I'm running out of words to describe these things, but I mean, they're pretty cool. I like this pommel thing right here. It's not really the paintbrush style that other people went for, but it's like kind of similar to that. It's pretty neat. I mean, it has cool texture, and the blade itself is pretty interesting as well. It has what seems to be like reflections or indents or something. Looks pretty neat. Next up, we got Steph Packs. For those of you who are wondering, a lot of the people who have participated in this contest have actually not done high res before, or they don't have much very experience with high res. So I mean, this is okay, but I feel like you could have put a bit more effort into it. Like maybe try putting some outlines or adding some shadows or something. I feel like, yeah, I mean, you don't have to lose hope or think that just because you're not very experienced in high res doesn't mean that you can't try, you know? So I think that if you want to do something like this in the future, you should really try and do your best regardless of how it looks in the end, because I know you can do better than this. That's not throwing shade at them, just saying for everyone who didn't think that they could do very well, I mean, it's not for the purpose of doing well, it's not a competition. It's just like a thing that everyone can try something new, you know, just for fun. So don't lose hope, I guess. Next up, we got Revest. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And I mean, come on, man. Seriously? I mean, I don't want to be laughing at someone's texture, but I mean, are you serious? Next up, we got Noob Named What. I don't think he actually finished this texture. He just posted it because he felt like moving on to something else. But anyway, I mean, you possibly had a cool idea. I don't really know. Moving on, we got Explorers. I really like the style of this. It's like a stone sword, which I didn't actually see any stone swords in this, so thought it was pretty cool how you like used a different material. Here's some like wooden parts here. I feel like maybe the wood could be a bit darker to fit a bit better with the stone, you know. But overall, I really like the style with all of these like little pebble-like marks in the blade, and as well as this part of the crossguard and the pommel. Really nice job on this. Next up, we got Bloom. This one looks really realistic in my opinion. You got the pommel, which is like kind of transparent, which is pretty cool. You got the bounce light and everything. That's pretty neat. This center part of the crossguard also looks really cool. I like how it has like facets and everything. Great use of dithering in my opinion in this sword. I'm not really that good at hand shading, but I mean, I think this worked out pretty well. Not much else I can say about this. It's just overall really nice. Good job. Next up, we got the Rhino guy, who actually made 3 separate submissions for the same sword, but in 3 different materials. We got the diamond sword, then we got the gold sword, and then finally we got the iron sword. I'm a really big fan of both the diamond. It looks really cool, especially with this thing in the middle, as well as the gold sword. I really like this because this thing in the middle, it just looks really realistic with the highlight and everything. Maybe the palette could be slightly different to reflect what gold actually looks like in real life. Overall, I think this looks really nice, and yeah, maybe the handle could have a bit more shading. It kind of looks a little flat right now, but I'm sure you could do that pretty easily. So yeah, really great job on that. And congrats on making 3 separate things. They work really well together. Lastly, for this part of the challenge, we got Cadenman9, who made multiple submissions as well. So this one, oh god, that's pretty big. This one is gradient shaded. This one looks really nice. It's in the like traditional gradient style. You got the outline, inline, and bevel, or light inline, I guess. And I mean, I can't say anything wrong about this, except maybe this center part of the crossguard is possibly a little too dark compared to the rest of it. But I mean, overall, I mean, this is pretty nice. I mean, good job on this. I like the style. And then they also made a hand-shaded version right here, which is kind of similar, but unique in its own way. So you got like similar type of a line kind of dither shading that we saw in Jax's post, I believe. I'm not really sure what to call it, but yeah, I mean, this is pretty cool too. I think there is a bit of banding in these parts of the crossguard, but I mean, that's all right. Anyway, if I had to decide between these two, I would probably go for the gradient shaded one. That's my personal preference, at least. Yeah, good job on this, and congrats on leaving your comfort zone, doing 2 separate things in different styles. Now, I did actually have a second challenge that I was doing. I didn't actually like post on Twitter or anything. Actually, maybe I did, I don't know. But anyway, I told people that you should also maybe try and revamp one of the textures that I've made in the past, and see how that goes for you. So we're gonna start off with food submission. Let me also pull up the original for reference. All right, so here is food submission on the right and the original for reference. I think this is a pretty good recreation in 32x resolution. So yeah, not much else I can say about that. I'm not really a low res type of person, but I mean, overall, pretty good job, I'd say. Yeah, moving on, we got Noob Named What's submission, which here's the original. You got this sword that I made, which actually the shape was made by someone else named Dempy. This was like for a contest or something. So basically I have just a generic sword, except it has an eye in the middle. And I think he made a pretty cool recreation of that in quite a different style, but still keeping the same theme with the eye and everything. So I think this is pretty nice. The palette and everything, the shading, it's pretty cool, interesting. That sounded sarcastic. That was not sarcastic. Yeah, pretty nice in general. Good job. Anyway, that's actually it for today's video. Thank you everyone for participating, and I hope you had a good time. I hope you maybe stepped out of your comfort zone a bit, or just had fun in general. And yeah, I'll see you later.